Hi, welcome back to Beyond the Podium, the podcast where we break down the biggest political events in real talk, facts, and analysis. My name is Ari,
My name is Patricia.
and today we are going to be speaking about the Trump and Kamala Harris 2024 presidential debate that happened on September 10th in Philadelphia.
It was a very important debate, right? It covered the economy, foreign policy. They talked about healthcare and immigration. They both had very strong points about what each other had to say. But Trump criticized Kamala very heavily for her thoughts on foreign policy.
All while Kamala went ahead and pointed out the way Trump has his policies on healthcare and immigration. I think they both had a very different approach at coming at each other and putting each other on the spot.
Yeah,
So-
no, definitely. They both had something to say about what the other was saying, even if they somewhat agree with it. They were just trying to put each other down and were constantly like making fun of each other, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah.
Fun of each other and trying to put the other person down to make the other
Mhm.
person look better.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. And I feel like this whole concept of them, like the candidates putting each other down, stems all the way back to even the media company that it was aired on. It was actually aired on ABC News, which is known to be a more like left-leaning media conglomerate. It's a very big company that has more left-leaning opinions. But even if that didn't impact the debate, which I think it did, I don't know about you, but I think it did, most Americans don't even get their news from like actually watching the entire 3-hour debate. Most just read it off of another news site that covered the debate, like wrote about it or something. And I feel like each media company has different opinions and lean either more to the right or to the left. And depending on where you read it on, you would get like a different interpretation of the debate, if that makes sense. And I feel like this ties back to Herman and Chomsky's propaganda model very well, because their first filter, they talk about media ownership and media bias. And yeah, what do you think about it?
No, yeah, I was even reading that a lot of Trump supporters said that the moderators were kind of favoring Harris in the way that Trump was seeming to get interrupted a little bit more, and Kamala just seemed, it made it seem like she was just way more composed and calm than Trump was.
Yeah.
But
So you think it was more?
it definitely has a lot to do with it.
You think it did
does,
like favor Kamala more because they are more left?
it does play a factor in it
Okay.
that a company like ABC is definitely, who leans more to the left, is gonna favor the left side.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like, yeah, it probably does have a lot to do with what media company people read it off of. Because if you look at a more right-leaning media company, you would probably see something talking about how Trump was strong, or he was like very defending his points, and like he was mistreated in the debate in general.
Yeah, no, the media definitely plays a role in shaping like the narrative, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I feel like this even relates to Herman and Chomsky's second filter, advertising. We can see it in how the media just prefers more like general, like consumer-friendly narratives. They ask them not as serious questions. We don't get like as an in-depth discussion of their policies and their plans. They try to more like ask them things that would be controversial to the other candidate, or like try and pin them against each other, because that's what is like likable, that's what people like to see. That's what people would go into their website and see what the advertisers are pushing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I saw it a couple times whenever Trump was getting a little out of hand, that they'd interrupt him, and he wasn't able to fully explain what his policies were and what he was going to do differently. Yeah.
So you think that's more just to like make people watch it, or more just to like?
No, definitely to make people, to get more engagement. More viewers are gonna feed into that kind of drama.
And I feel like the media just really, what Herman and Chomsky were talking about is how they rely on funding from the advertisers, and advertisers try to push the content to more of an like affluent audience. So like people that would be affected by the policies, like let's say abortion or like immigration policies, are more like well, how would you say, like lower class people, or like people that advertisers are not really pushing their content to. So they try to push more like the clicky stuff, the dramatic things, to people that just really would not be affected by the policies. They just choose what to give us so that people, a certain category of people, like people that can buy what the advertisers are pushing, will go into their websites and see what they like want to push into our faces, you know?
Yeah, no, and I definitely also think that they do that in a way so that they seem more unbiased on the thing and focus more on the drama and the antics.
Yeah, no, like I noticed that they kept in like zooming into Kamala's face when Trump would like say something about, let's say, his economic policy, and Kamala would make a face and they would like zoom into it instead of actually like letting us hear what he was talking about, like the actual like policy, his actual opinion on it, you know? Like I don't know about you, but like me, for example, I would have wanted to hear more about his actual plans for immigration instead of looking at Kamala's reaction to what he's saying.
I definitely would have been way more interested in seeing what how he would answer the question than how Kamala would react.
Yeah.
And because of this, these big media companies like ABC have ties and dependency to the government. They try to stray away from in-depth policy discussions and lean more towards the drama of the thing.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel like media companies really like rely on their information from the government, or businesses, or just like their experts in general. They don't want to like get on their bad side, so they can't really like make one of them like go really into depth and favor very clearly one of them, because they would burn bridges with either one.
I definitely agree with that, yeah. And speaking of shaping beliefs, let's talk about fact checking. That's where Flack comes in. If you challenge mainstream narratives, you face backlash, and many alternative media outlets that fact check each side's equally get labeled as misinformation or like conspiracy theories.
No, I feel like that can definitely be a form of flack. Like the fact checkers checking more a certain like let's say they were checking more on Trump's false claims than Kamala's, or like the liberal media pushing like towards Kamala's facts being more true than Trump's, and that could be like a certain form of flack. I feel like another form of flack we can really see is the people's like reaction to the debate, with them like posting on social media, or even the big media companies, like other media companies posting to their social medias certain clips that make a certain candidate look bad, or like let's say Kamala really dominated on the healthcare policies, and then Trump asked her something and she messed up once. They would make that into a viral clip, and then it would make Kamala seem bad, even though if you went in and actually watched the whole debate, you would see that she actually like knew what she was talking about, and you know.
Yeah, and I was about to mention something like that. If you go all over social media, they can take one single clip and without even showing you like the full aspect of the full conversation, and make it seem like it was something super controversial that was said, and you know, you're not seeing the full picture of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like a lot of journalists were going after the candidate that they didn't like and trying their best to make them seem uncredible through fact checking.
Oh no, definitely. The media definitely amplifies like one side's lies more than the other, and creating like a biased perception of like
just
the actual reality.
depending on what side they lean more to. And I feel like that ties back to what they were trying to say, or McLuhan's theory of how the medium is the message. He talks about how the media is just trying to divide people nowadays, and I feel like that's how that ties in. The flack is just trying to get people angry against another side, and like just trying to discredit the other candidate.
Yeah, and I mean that is a bias that affects how the voters are gonna react, and you know, sway their votes and change their minds about who they're gonna want to vote for.
So what do you think about the fact that the debate was televised going back to McLuhan's theory that the medium is a message.
Oh, that I mean, without it being televised, it wouldn't reach this many this much engagement and these many interactions with it. Yeah, definitely televising it played a significant role in shaping people's like opinions on it.
Do you think it even matters that it was televised? Because I feel like most people nowadays, like, I didn't watch the whole debate before when it just came out. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just went online, searched it up, see what happened, you know? I didn't watch it until now, so I feel like most of the people would not go and watch a whole live 3-hour debate. So do you think it still matters? Like,
I think it matters that it was televised, just because people like us who didn't really watch it as it was being televised live, we got to see clips of it on social media.
So you would say, like, tying it back to the theory, McLuhan's theory, I feel like the medium isn't really, like, it is the television because that's where it was aired at first, but it is also the articles, the social media posts, just all these new, like, mediums that posted the content. Without them, the message would be, like, the message that McLuhan is talking about would be the specific new medium. So not only television, but also social media, or even a specific post, or just all the mediums that put out content about the debate. I feel like they are the message in what McLuhan is trying to say, because without them, we would not interpret the debate a certain way, you know?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I think you hit it right on the spot, for sure. And at the end of the day, this isn't about who you support. It's about how the system filters information to shape what they want the voters to actually believe. And
yeah, I feel like people would just like, they would believe everything that they say because it comes from a credible source, like the government. It is like all the facts that they were talking about for all of their policies. They're really talking about, like, their plans for the future, so they don't really have any, like, factual, like, stats to back things up, really. And the ones they do, I feel like people just take for granted, like, they just accept them because they're coming from a reputable source, the government, when we really don't know if certain things are factual or not.
And I feel like how they so confidently present these things, it leaves me with zero doubt. Like, I don't even have to question if what they're saying is true. For all we know, half of the stuff that Trump said and half of the stuff that Kamala said, like, is not even real.
Yeah, we would never know. So do you think someone that just, like, listened to the debate, like, let's say on a radio or something, would have had a different interpretation of the actual debate than someone that, let's say, watched the whole thing?
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I'm a perfect example. When their debate first came out, all I did was listen to it, like, on my way to work, and at that time, I kind of favored, Kamala, and I thought she was making some really good points. But then, right before we began this podcast, you and I sat down and watched the debate, like, on video, and I mean, we can see that the media can have, like, a big influence on, like, what is being put out there and who they want us to think won, in their eyes. But yeah, no, looking back, seeing it than listening to it is a whole different story.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Like, the first time I listened to it, I just looked at, like, the social media. I went on TikTok or Instagram, and it was more like little viral clips. So the medium that I was being presented the debate in was a lot different than when we sat down and actually, like, watched it. I feel like it was just more, like, in your face, more like either, like, trying to put one of the candidates down, or, like, just very dramatic instead of, like, more, like, information. So it definitely was perceived differently, Like, I feel like we all watched it, like, you and me, we watched it in different forms at first, and then we watched the whole debate on YouTube. So we definitely, like, noticed that with the media. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like I noticed that when the medium is different, I definitely interpreted it a different way.
Yeah, no, and I mean, even tying it back to the propaganda model, it shows us that what's on our screens isn't always the full picture of things. A lot of it goes into like advertising, elite sourcing, flack, and ideology.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of determines on like not so much who actually won the debate, but what the media is like presenting to us as like who they want to show us won the debate.
Yeah, I feel like when you actually analyze that debate, it shows like you can notice these things more, like how when we talked about advertising, how that goes into the debate, how the sourcing, how all of that just goes into how the debate is produced and presented to us, and how the actual words that they say, the policies that they share, what they are trying to share is not what ends up coming across to the consumer, like the people that are listening to the debate, you know? It's more like it's more like being shoved in our faces, and they're trying to show us what we should understand in a sense, depending on who you hear it from, where you hear it, or if you watched it or not, you know? It's all just different perspectives of the same exact content, you know? Even if you watch like certain parts, I feel like when you actually analyze it, you see how it just does not even matter what they are saying, you know?
And you know what? I'm gonna read you this thing. I was doing a little bit of research, and I came across this sentence that says, democracy only works if we have an informed public. But if the media controls what we know, how free are we really to make our own choices? You know, it sat really well with me on this discussion that we had today.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, guys, on this episode of
Beyond the Podium.
Beyond the Podium.
Yeah. Subscribe to see, our next topic.
Yeah.